Hello everybody and welcome to today's webinar. In this one I will show you how you could use Shaper 3D for architectural interior design modeling and detailing. I created a small demo for you that includes some walls, some details, for example baseboard, chrome molding, the windows, the doors, and I will run you through the whole process in how you could use the construction and modeling tools in Shaper 3D to create such a space. Okay, so let's start with a new design. First thing, what you want to do for architectural modeling, you tap with the pencil onto the view cube, upper right corner, go to units, and then specify the unit system you want to work with. So inches or feet, meters or centimeters are very good. Millimeters are too small. The measurements I have are in inches, so today I will work with inches. Very good. And then we can tap on the cube again, click the top view, perfect. Now, architectural drafting in Shaper works a little bit different than in traditional architecture modeling programs. And the main difference is here how we, for example, rotate and position everything. So the room I have is 142 inches wide. So somewhere I could make a line. You see, when drawing this line, I get the dimension readout. So I don't have to draw the line exactly to the length I need. I can just draw a short line, then with the pencil tap on the distance and then type in 141.75. And because we work with inches, that's going to be 141.75 inches. Very good. This line is, as you can see here with this constraint, also made horizontal. So when I click a point and I move this line, you see I can move this line around, but it does not rotate. I actually do not want this line to even move. So I can select one point and you see then a lock icon pops up. I can click the lock icon above, or in the left side with the constraints, I can now, for example, click the unlock button. This constrains the line. Basically, I cannot move it anymore. You see I selected the right point and I tried to move it, but that lock prevents that. Now let's work on the next line. I simply draw this one on purpose at an angle, because this one I would like to be 160.75 inches long, and it should be vertical. Now, how do I get this vertical? I could use the grid, the snapping, that works. I can select this line and this line, and you see then it says the angle, and then type in 90 degrees. That works. I can select this line, and then on the left side I select a perpendicular constraint that makes these two lines perpendicular to each other, or I simply select the line and select horizontal vertical. I just want to show you that there are multiple ways how you can do this. Let's draw another line here up. This one is 79.45 inches. It's specified here that these two lines are perpendicular. I try to minimize having too many constraint icons, so I selected that constraint. Then I click X, select my line, and override this with the vertical constraint. For those who are new to Shaper, let me at this moment make a pause and show you what we have here. That icon with the magnet is for snapping and guides, and it also has this auto constraint function. So this one I can turn on and off. When this is on, Shaper tries to guess what type of constraint you would like to add and does it automatically for you. So it's a matter of personal preference which one you would like to work with. And then also it shows the midpoint of a line, so we can snap to it, the sketch face center, snapping hints, etc. Very good. So this line is done, and I have another line, 42.75. 42.75 inches, and okay. And the angle between these two lines is exactly 135. There we are. Very good. You see, that's a way how in a sketch engine, like in Shaper, which is more interactive, you draw, constrain, and then rotate lines versus traditional CAD software where you draw a line and then while you draw it, you say the angle. Because also here we can always go back and change that rotation or the angle. So it's a little bit more interactive. From here, I would like to draw another line to the left. This one is 120. Horizontal, very good. And then I have one last line, that one I can draw. I don't need to constrain it because essentially it is constraining itself. Very good. And there you see, now we have the layout of that room. No walls in, well, obviously we have exterior and interior walls. Just for simplicity of this exercise, let's assume all walls have a 5-inch material thickness. To create now the offset, so we can extrude the walls, we can go to the sketch, then click offset, and you see here now we would drag the line simply in. So with the mouse I go to the sketch, click drag, and this way I can specify it. Let's see if we can snap to 5 inches. There we are. Let's double check. This should be -5. Very good. Perfect. With one finger, if we move it on over the screen, now I can snap from the top view into a perspective view and can rotate around. With 2 fingers, if I pinch, you see the 2 dots, these are my fingers, I can zoom in and zoom out. The windows and the door opening is not something I put into this drawing because I will first draft up the walls and then I will go to the respective wall and there then put the shape of the opening in and cut it through. So let's do this. The walls, let's specify 96 inches, they are tall. So with the pencil, I can select now this filling. You see the outside and the inside sketch are closed. So they define 2 individual volumes. And with the pencil, I tap on it and then I drag up. Oops, I had the cut section view on. Let me repeat this. So with the pencil, select the surface and then go back with the pencil, tap, drag upwards. And there we are. We set 96. Also here we can specify the dimension as we need in case when we move the pencil away from the display and we move the pen a little bit and the number changes. Very nice. We can for a moment hide this. And you see then the sketch is visible again. I will make myself another group. For example, this group I could call floor. I really like using groups a lot to separate all my objects. That makes later selecting multiple objects also a lot easier. And I can create the base this sits on. And let's say we will create an artificial 2-inch surface or slab this one sits on. So with the pencil, as you saw, I selected both areas, and then again tap, drag down, let's say 2 inches. Very good. There. Very nice. Okay, let's go back to the wall. I hide the floor for the moment. And on this wall, I would like to create now the opening for the window. To do this, it's actually very easy. With the pencil, I select that wall, and then with one finger, I double tap on it. Now, as you see, the camera got positioned orthographically in front of that wall. But what's not necessarily visible is also that it moves the construction grid to there. So when I now start drawing a rectangle, it draws it actually on that face. So with the pencil, I can click somewhere else and then draw myself an opening. Nicely with horizontal and vertical lines. This opening should be around 50, let's say 57. I make this a little bit bigger because there's another element I would like to show later, and this one we make 73. Let's make this 58. And to specify the height where this should be and the center, you see both lines have actually a midpoint. Let me for a moment go to the sketches. This is actually my floor sketch. This is now my window sketch. I will just hide the floor sketch, go back to the wall and click on this one. And this edge I would like to bring in. So I could draw a line from there to there. You see then actually it copied over this line. That is the bottom edge of the wall. And this way I projected in this line, and the line will not move. And you see these endpoints are locked. So this has one very practical application. You see with this line that are connected between the midpoints, if I now set this line to be vertical, you can see it moved actually the sketch and centered it. Now it's centered on the wall. And this line I can dimension to 9.5 inches, and it moves the window down. Also here with sketches, it's very good practice to always give everything a name. If you have 1, 2 sketches, it's very easy to understand. But let's assume you do a detailed work and then you have 10, 20 sketches, and all you see is just each sketch is called sketch. You would have to click on each sketch and turn it on off to figure out what actually it is. So by giving names, it's a lot easier to later manage your design. Very good. Now, I would like to cut an opening into the wall. To do this, with the pencil I select that rectangle and the filled area. So again, it's very important that these drawings we create are closed. Just delete this one for a second. You see there's no blue filling, so it's an open sketch and it needs to be closed. So we have a filling, and then this filling we can select and use that to do a cut. So let's do that. With the pencil again, instead of now click and drag up, I click and drag down. You see, when then it intersects, the software then assumes if I extrude a volume into another volume or into each other, the user wants not to add a volume but wants to cut. If I zoom in a little bit, you also see here to the left of the 18 or below it, there's a small icon. It says subtract. I could make an extrusion of a new body, as you see, or union join it together, intersect, so only this part remains. Let's say this is 2 inches, and you see we just do a cut into the wall. 6 will be cut through the wall. So that's how easy it is to create the opening. Now, since we created that opening for the window, let's talk about maybe what can we do if we later have to adjust everything. I can select this face, and you see now there it tells me how far is that face away from the other face. So I could adjust the position this way. If I select this face and then this face, and then go to transform and move, I can move them around. So I can move actually that opening. So bring it up and down, rotate. Now we can too. So nothing is set in stone. We have full capabilities to adjust everything afterwards, which is really, really nice. Okay. So for the door, we can do the same. Instead of, in this case, drawing on the outside, to make sure I do not cut into my wall, I will in this case here create a drawing there while being on the inside. So select that wall, double tap, and just rotate my view so I can look into that space better, and create just an arbitrary shape. Oop, that's the incorrect geometry type. Again, let's make sure all these lines are vertical or horizontal. There, very good. And then via push and pull, cut this out. Super easy. If we don't at one point need a sketch anymore, like in this case, you can also swipe to the left and then just delete it, so it's gone. Very good. Let's take a look at what we have so far. So we created a nice space where we have the floor, the walls, and we cut in the openings. If we would like to have a baseboard or some type of design, which is something that's very important for interior detailing, because we just not only have a floor and then the wall, we want to have more details to it. There are multiple ways how we can build everything. We could, for example, select this edge, then go to add, and along this edge I would like to have a construction plane, and it is perpendicular at a particular point. So let's say there. Okay, so there now we have a plane, and then at this plane, when I select it and double tap, I go to that view, and then I could draw the profile of the baseboard. But as you can see, geometry will be in my view, and I have to rotate, and it might be a little bit difficult to navigate. So an easier way to do this, I found, I will just go to the front view here in this case, is I will simply draw the space I will draw this element somewhere else. And then I make a small extrusion of that profile, and then I will move that 3D object to, let's say, this edge, and then I sweep it. So let's try this out so you see what that means. Let's say here I draw a line, maybe a nice tall one. Let's draw a horizontal line, 2 inches. Here we can go up. It can be nice and artistic based on how we would like to draw everything. down. And with the arc tool, if you draw a line and then you wiggle the pen, you see it switches between line and arc. And there I can connect this. Nice. And maybe adjust this as needed. These points probably have to go higher a little bit. There. Very good. Okay, see? One very easy way how to create this. Let's make a quick variation. And that's the other reason why this process is actually really nice to use, because I can create all these elements next to each other instead of having to draw those onto a wall, and then I can create all my samples, see them next to each other, and then I transfer them in where I would like to have them. The arc tool is useful for one aspect, to create obviously a nice ring. The other element we can use is also the spline tool. So to use the spline tool, we start drawing a line and then press the button and press. Sorry, I said button, I meant obviously the pencil. And I'm just making a random shape here. And you see you can create nice curves. So I would like to have a nice transition from this line and then flowing into this line, so they're tangent. So for those who are not familiar with that tool, so I can click, I need this one point there, then I could maybe go to there, I go to there, and I go to the end and release. And this point, you see, got made perpendicular to this line. So this curve flows nicely in there. And the same happened here. They flow nicely together. So these points are at the same height where this line is. And what I can do now is with this extra point, I can create the curve. And you see I get a really nice, smooth start of the curve and a really nice end of that curve. There, looks beautiful. Nice and smooth compared to on the left. Everything is very geometrically clean, but also sharp. Maybe a little bit boring. Well, it's a matter of preference. Very good. Okay, so enough of this. Let's create the 3D models. So how we do this? All I need to do is simply extrude a piece, and that's it. Now I need to find a good way or position where I could move this one to. I will switch into the top view. Where is it? The object, there it is. And now I need to find an edge where I could connect this to. So I rotate it to this view because this profile I will put onto this edge based on the way how I drew the profile. And to do this, I will go to Move and Translate. With the pencil, do not only select the face, but triple click or double click to select the whole object. Very good. Select Next, activate Copy. And then it asks us to define a start and end point. So from this endpoint there, I move this one to this edge and it snaps to it. Click Done, and there it is. You see? Very nice. Now to sweep this along all these edges, well, we use the sweep command. We go to Tools and then Sweep. I will select this face, Next, and then I can go U to U, U. See, I can simply select all the edges I want, but in a sequential order. I can't select this edge because there's no profile at that area yet. And there. Very good. Doesn't look too bad. Let's zoom out a little bit. And the only thing we need to do is there. Double tap, select the object and delete it, so it's gone. Because everything here is direct modeling, we can adjust parts. So here we can move this maybe up. You see, we can move this down a little bit. What happens if we select all those? Here I have now a curved object. So I would have to select all those. Hold on, I have to zoom in into that detail. Select all those elements. And if I then with the pencil go up and down, you see I'm adjusting some of the shapes. So you have to be careful about it. If we go with the move command, let's see what happens when we do this way. So then we can actually move the part up. But you want to select all those profiles at the same time, so that actually it does it. I only selected 2, 3 of those. So sometimes when the face is shared means, for example, here if I select this face, you see everything is selected. So there I can now easily drag this one up, and that works. And if we have more broken down faces or separate faces like here, see that's one face and that is one face, then we should select all of the part, because otherwise the software only tries to modify the selected parts. If the whole thing, for example, is too high and I try to modify the curved elements, which based on the way how you design it can be more successful with a quick modification or can be more complicated, we can always simply select the easier part. So I'll use the flat bottom, and then we go with a translate, select everything, next, and then save. Now move the whole thing from there to there, and there we are. Now we made it a little bit less tall. Okay, so let me go back for a moment to the room design that is done. So you can see the details I have there. So that's the baseboard which I created, and for example a crown molding. Pretty much the same process. The crown molding is just a different shape which I then swept across all these lines. Also the door frame, it's pretty much the same modeling command. So I create that profile and then I sweep it across the opening of where the door is. The sweep command can also be used for creating all the individual elements of a window. So all I need to have is just one cross section, like this window, and then I sweep it across a vertical, horizontal, another vertical, and the missing last horizontal. So the sweep command is very, very useful for creating a lot of different shapes and details we need. Let's go back to the room, because I would like to insert the window we have. To insert existing objects, you can, for example, build a door or a window to the specifications you need, and then later we import it into an architectural interior model and then position it. To do this, upper left corner, to the right there are 2 box icons with an arrow coming in and coming out. The out means export, the arrow down into the box means import. So let's click it. Then we go to File, and I will go to Arc Window. And oh, was that the wrong model? Give me 1 second. Did I save the wrong one? Oh, that's why. Sorry. I made a mistake. Sorry for this. Let me save this one more time. Shaper. No, it's not too bad. This way you see actually how I also create these files. So let's click cancel. I built my window as needed, and then I export it. Just give this one a new name. Arc window raw. Continue. Then it asks me to where would I like to share this, and I share this to my files. Done. Very good. Let's go to there. And yep, delete and delete. Very good. And then we will import this one now. So we go to here, files, and arc window raw. There it is. And there is the window. When we import something, and you see also in the original Shaper design, I put this into a group called window. It's very easy now to select all the individual objects of that window group, because I want to move it, and then I have to also, do I have to rotate it? No, I can just push it right into the position where it has to go to. So let's do this. To move it, go to transform. I can use the move command now to select all the parts of the window. On the top it says now I can select individual shapes or a complete group. So I click loop, click window, okay, move this one down. And it's a little bit difficult now to position this right to where I want this to go to. So there again, this is where the translate function becomes very useful. We'll select the group again. Let's zoom in a little bit next. And then I say from this corner, move this to that corner. And there, very good. You might remember I built everything a little bit bigger because I wanted to show you now how we can adjust actually those spaces. So when I zoom in, I can select this face and with the pencil push it up and down. But you will need to trust your eyes to get this one very close. So here we can also use the transform and just select this face next, and then I say move that whole face from there down to there, and it closes that part. Can do the same here too. Transform, translate this face, zoom in from there to there. The snapping is really nice in Shaper. You can always reposition the snapping targets. And there. Now it's closed. So you don't even have to necessarily build the whole very precise. If, for example, you don't even know how big an object is, just make it a little bit bigger and then put your geometry, or in this case, like with the window, in the space and then adjust the opening of the wall. Ideally, because with the hole we create for the window, it's also the position of the window, so it should be somewhat precise, so you should know your measurements, obviously. But in case you don't, you see that's a very easy way how we can fix this. And we can import the door too. So I will have to save this one time too. So let's go export, save as, Shaper, call this arc door raw, continue. continue and share files. Very good. And then also here we imported files, and there's the door file. And now again, because everything comes in the individual groups, which is awesome, all I need to do is just go to the translate command, go to groups, select the door, say that's what I want to do, and then I say this point, please move to there, and okay. Oh, I guess my measurements were slightly off. Whoops, that should not have happened. I'm sorry for this. I don't. Maybe when I measured the space earlier, I got some of the numbers wrong. But I hope that in general you understand or understood the process how to do this. Now, here's one thing I would like to point out. So how do we rotate the door? Because you see the wall is at an angle. Obviously the door I imported is also at an angle already. Well, what happens if you import the door and it's horizontal but the wall is at an angle? This is actually pretty easy to do if you have to do rotations. Let me hide the wall here for the moment. So there's just the door. So like I did before, you want to line up at least two edges so the component to the architectural object. And then after that we can go to rotate, go with groups, the door. Okay, and then ask to select an axis, and the axis is the same edge. Click next. And then you would be able to specify the rotation 135. So you know the door is actually horizontal. That's one way to do it. You could also go use a transform. Door. And what we have to do now in this case is the magenta dot, that's the center of the rotation widget or manipulation widget. And you see we can snap this to individual points or edges, and I move this one to this edge. And then you have to be careful about which rotation axis you use. Here in this case, because I look from the top, it's the blue one. And then we can rotate this one too. This could also be a really nice object or tool to use when you want to rotate a part of a door. Also, as a small tip, in this design, the window and the door are all in their individual groups. Now, because the door is built in a way so it could be manufactured, I have actually all the individual objects built. I went a little bit overboard. Then you would have to select all the parts. So if, for example, you put the door frame into one group, the left door into one group, the right door into one group, and then this way you can break down the individual objects. And then if you want to, let's say, do a architectural visualization with the doors closed or with the doors open, it's a very easy way then to get that easily set up. To bring this webinar to a close, let's talk a little bit about materials for those who are not very familiar with, because you can see that the window is actually transparent in my case and the frame is white. So let's say I would like the baseboard to be white too. To give colors to objects, we simply go to Tools, select color. It's the last one. Here, now we have a slider for the saturation, below for the brightness, and then we have a color wheel. So brightness can go up, and then we just tap a face. That gives then the color to that face, or if we double tap, it gives the color to all faces of that object. If we now change the color, see nothing happens. Say we go with an orange. Because I changed that, so the white, you didn't really see any change. So be careful about this. So this we keep at white, which means now if we want to give a color to another object, do not have anything selected. Now I could go and pick a color for the floor. Let's say yellow. And there we are. And the wall is too gray. It's a little bit depressing. So let's maybe desaturate everything and pick a nice gray. And maybe this one room I would like to have an accent color. So let's bring this back. I'm from Germany. We really like blue, but I find green recently a much more refreshing color. And there, we can then give a particular wall just one color. Now, how do we do transparency? The color tool on the right side has a transparency value, and that basically, or opacity. Up makes a color solid, and if you go down, it makes a color transparent. So if I sample this wall, the window color, you see with the eyedropper, I can adjust this. So let's select the window. There you see how I can make it opaque or totally transparent. I give this also a blue because glass is not necessarily always 100% clear, and with the blue it's kind of like a nice simple color for a glass material. So you see, if you want to adjust also one color to another wall, let's say this green I would like to put onto another wall, so I go eyedropper, I drop this color, and then select another face, click OK. You see then we added that color to the additional wall face, and we exited the mode to add colors. Let's go back to the previous model I have here, where everything is correct. So as you see, it's also useful when you build very basic simplifications or mock-up models of particular furniture elements. Also those you can easily build in Shaper as individual designs. Also there again, put them into groups, like one group is chair, one group is table, one group is the storage unit, and then we can put those objects into the 3D space and then have a better understanding of how much how much walk space is there actually in. Let's say this should be an office. How much space does the table use up? What's the walk path? How could I spread out as a designer? Where could I put other elements, storage? What can I do with the walls? So it's really nice. And then with the groups, we can also have different variations. We can import the table and the chair multiple times, or make duplicates, put them onto different groups. So and then we can actually have different variations of a room layout just via the groups. The last thing I would like to show is, let's say you would like to do a cut section, or you want to look into that space from here, but you don't want to see that wall. So how do we do this? And lower right corner, the left icon, the one I'm tapping here, that's actually the cut section tool. The cut section tool works based on the plane. Currently, you see the ground plane is selected. And to have individual planes, well, we can create construction planes. For a moment, let me turn this on. There you see I have 2 construction planes. So if this is selected and I turn this on, you see it doesn't apply because I have to switch to the view of that plane. So if the plane selected with one finger, double tap, and then I can turn this on and turn the construction planes off, and there is my cut section. And Shaper nicely then also shades the objects that are being cut. Now let's select the horizontal one. Double tap with a finger, turn this off, turn this on, turn visibility off. Now I take a look into that space with a horizontal cut section. And if you want to create such a construction object, it's pretty easy to do. We could go to Add, then Construction Plane. We have different types here, but the offset one is the easiest one. So we select this one, next, and then we move it to where we need it. But the construction plane can be moved and can also be rotated like an object. Go to move here, move this to there, and rotate it, let's say like this. Perfect. And select, double tap, and turn the cut section view on. There we are. See? Actually pretty simple to do. And that concludes everything what I wanted to demonstrate today.